So, this is the third try I've had on this video. It's trying to deal with the enormous quantity of ignorance put forth by the Atheist-Antidote in his most recent video. And I do mean ignorance. I have no qualms about calling that man ignorant. Truthfully, I probably shouldn't even call him a man. He's more like a boy in an adult's body, with the way he's so easily fooled into believing things that he sees short news clips of. But either way, in the most recent video, he talks about origins, and he claims that atheists believe that aliens done it when it comes to the origin of life here on Earth. Of course, that's not true, but, you know, Brock doesn't let the truth stand in the way of his claims. If he did, well, he'd have nothing to talk about. But in his video, there were two clips that I want to talk about. Number one is the clip of Richard Dawkins from the movie Expelled. Well, Brock, you need to check your sources. You need to always look at these things, because Dawkins' answer was an answer based on a prompt from the name of the person in Expelled escapes me. I want to say Beck, but they're both idiots. But it was a result of a prompt question from that man. So Dawkins answered it in a hypothetical and rhetorical way. It's not that he believes what he answered as being true, but he was simply answering a question, like I said, in a hypothetical and rhetorical manner. The second one was a clip of a man mentioning that crystals played an important part in the origin of life here on Earth. Brock goes on to mock this, but what Brock is really doing here is, again, showing his utter ignorance on the subject. Brock, just to let you know, man, the crystals he's speaking of are clay mineral crystals. Mineral crystals in the form of clays. And it has been shown time and time again in the laboratory and, controlled conditions that these mineral crystals do catalyze the polymerization of polymers from organic molecules. And that's an important thing in the step of having life develop in a fully natural fashion. You have to take these small organic molecules that are produced readily throughout the universe in a number of fashions, and you need to expand on them, turn them into polymers, long-chained molecules. And clays catalyze that polymerization. Hence, yes, crystals are important to the origin of life from a purely scientific standpoint, and from a standpoint of the evidence we have. You would claim that a god done it. Little magic man in the sky done it. But you have nothing to support that other than a jumble of books dating from 2,500 years or so old to just about 1,500 years old. When was the Council of Nicaea? That outside those books, there's no supportive evidence whatsoever for your claim. Your claim is, something that can't be tested. However, abiogenesis, which is the study of the origin of life in a natural situation, can be studied. And one of the things in the study of abiogenesis is that crystals do play an important part in the polymerization of organic molecules into long-chain polymers. Okay. Now, if that's done, dealing with those quote lines that Brock unabashedly put forth, let's deal with the origin of the universe. Well, we know the history of the universe down to about 10 to the negative 40th seconds. Or we have good models for that. And those models are supported by the observations that we find around us, including cosmic microwave background, radiation, etc. Moving on, though, anything before that has to be purely theoretical. And we're talking theoretical in the mathematical sense of physics, not theoretical in the more general popular term of theoretical. Because, well, we know you creationists don't really understand what the word theory means. But in the end, with quantum mechanics, we see that there's much more to the nature of existence than we once believed. We now recognize that there are at least, and probably only, 3 primary components of this universe, Brock. Only 3. It's the holy trinity of science, to borrow from the Christian theological view. And that's space-time, the dimensions that we exist in, matter, and energy. Those 3 things. And guess what? All 3 of those things are relatively interchangeable. Space-time can produce matter and energy. We've seen this with what's known as the Casimir effect, which has proven that virtual particles exist. Energy can be converted into matter. Matter can be converted into energy. And those have a strong impact on space-time itself. So, Brock, no, aliens didn't do it, Brock. Neither did your God. And the nature of existence, the very fundamental nature of existence, was not something that had an origin. It's always existed, to use a very vague temporal term. And I do mean vague, because the average concept of time that people have is very vague and quite inaccurate. But either way. So, Brock, again, you've shown your ignorance, you've shown your willingness to be dishonest, and you've shown, well, the fact that you don't care about truth. You're a member of a religion that apparently claims to hold truth in high regard because you claim to have the truth. Yet when it comes down to it and you have demonstrable evidence in front of you, you choose to ignore it. And remember, I said demonstrable evidence. This is evidence that can be shown to be valid. You choose to ignore it. You choose to ignore the truth, Brock. You speak highly of morals, yet your dishonesty, and your plagiarism, and your censorship, etc. Oh, and your slandering nature pretty much removes that pedestal of morality from underneath your feet. So, Brock, I have a couple more books for you. These are on abiogenesis. The first one is called Life's Origin. And it's by Schoepf, if I can say his name correctly. It's a very good book, and it talks about those crystals that you thought you were making fun of. And the other one, and I love the title of this one, is called Genesis. And this one is by Hazen. Now, this one I've mentioned before in one of my earlier videos. So, Brock, you have a lot of reading to do. I've given you numerous books to read. And honestly, I'd buy them for you if you would purchase a P.O. box that I could mail them to. Because you need to know this stuff. Of course, I can't buy them all at once. I'm not a rich man. But I would certainly purchase one a month for you to see if we could have you actually become a little bit more educated. Because that's my whole purpose in life. The purpose I've given myself is to be an educator. And, pal, you're in need of an education.